So we start with the next process on forging. So forging is another metal forming process which is used to make a lot of products. So forging is one of the oldest metal forming process which has been used since the as old as copper ages and bronze ages by blacksmiths to create weapons or tools for agriculture. Uh, Now this process has pretty modernized. So even still it is used to make products, very critical products used in aircraft or automobile or spacecraft, etc. So we will see the details of this process in this module. So as I mentioned, it is the one of the oldest process even used by blacksmiths even till date. And this process basically utilizes application of compressive forces intermittently. So compressive forces were also applied in rolling, but in rolling the forces were applied in a continuous manner with the help of rolls. But in this case, the compressive forces are basically applied intermittently by blows of hammer, which may be powered mechanically or by other means. So forging can handle very large parts, as you can see in the photograph of a very big shaft. This shaft is basically used for transmitting power, for example, in a ship propeller. And the forging, it gives another advantage, which we have been discussing, that is refinement of grains by recrystallization. So basically, if you observe in this schematic here, the forging process upon application of compressive forces, the grains, the original coarse grain structure, it breaks down into fine grain structure, and hence we can get very good mechanical properties in the forged part. So it is also plastic deformation with application of compressive force, but the compressive force is applied intermittently rather than continuously. So forging basically also utilizes application of dies. So basically, in this case, the plastic deformation is done in by uh, putting the workpiece in a die, and when the compressive forces are applied, the workpiece it takes the shape of the die. So basically, it is plastically deformed as shown here to take the shape of the die, and some material which is coming out from the sides of the die is considered as flash, which is later on removed by some finishing operation. So forging is also done under both the conditions, that is under cold working or under hot working. But generally forging is more popular with hot working, because in cold forging the values of applied force may be too high. So generally hot working regime is more popular with forging process. Now, broadly speaking, the forging process utilizes two set of operations or combination of these to change the shape of the workpiece. So the first is basically drawing out operation. So drawing out operation is basically an operation where the workpiece is elongated. So this means if the workpiece will be elongated, so the cross section area of the workpiece will be reduced, and the force which is applied here in this case, it is perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece. So you see here, so the force is being applied perpendicular to the axis of the workpiece, and upon application of this compressive force, the workpiece basically what it does is it basically the length elongates, so the length increases, but the cross section area decreases. So this operation under the forging process is known as drawing out or cogging. The next operation under forging is upsetting. So in upsetting, the cross section area of the workpiece is increased. So in this case, the force is
Then
applied.
please start the recording.
Yeah, recording is already going on. So in this case, also the workpiece, the force is applied parallel to the axis of the workpiece. And in this case, the cross-section area of the workpiece, it increases, thereby increasing the diameter. And on the edges, we observe the barreling. So where the curvature, the curving of the edges takes place, this phenomena is known as barreling. So what is important here to know is that these two set of operations under forging or combination of these two operations is used in every forging process to change the shape of the workpiece by applying compressive force, which will generate a compressive stress in the plastic domain, thereby permanently deforming the shape of the workpiece. Next is basically in some cases, as I mentioned, the forging process can be done under hot working conditions, or it can be done under cold working conditions. But generally, it is more popular that it is done under hot working conditions. So to do under hot working conditions, it is important that the workpiece is to be preheated so that it reaches above the recrystallization temperature. So in hot working, the metal flow and grain structure, it can be controlled, and forging process is generally known to create products which are more stronger than by any other manufacturing process. So why the products are stronger? Because in this case the grain refinement takes place, and generally the grain structure gets refined, which gives a higher number of grain boundaries per unit volume, thereby increasing the resistance to slip. Hence the strength and hardness of the workpiece gets increased. So all the components which are used in several critical applications like aircraft, automobile, spacecraft, nuclear plants, some of the components are only made by forging process even till date. And often this is a primary manufacturing process. So additionally, for example, I showed the presence of flash. So presence of flash or other things may be additionally removed by subjecting it to some finishing operation like some grinding or heat treatment. So which basically improves the surface finish of the forged product. So this, however, this additional operation may also be removed by improved forging process like precision forging. Although in the scope of this course, we are not discussing about precision forging, but the name itself is telling in precision forging, the amount of flash which is generated is negligible. So additional finishing operations are not required. So if we see application of forging, it can handle parts of different sizes and shape with sophistication. Means sophistication here indicates towards automation. So this means the application of compressive force is now automated with the help of mechanical hammers, which are again computer controlled. So several parts which are used, for example, in a Boeing 747 aircraft or a NASA shuttle, space shuttle, are still made by forging process. In fact, you will be wondering that in a Boeing 747, almost 18,000 parts are still made using forging process. I'll show some schematics. Beyond aircraft, they are also used, the forged products are also used in defense applications, automobile, agricultural, construction, mining, material handling, all these type of applications where you see very rigorous service environment, very corrosive environment is there, high temperature is there. So in such environment, forged products are very popular. So even forged products are also very useful to make dies. So as we have seen, dies which are used to make, for example, if we have studied about investment casting. So in investment casting, we are making the pattern made up of wax. So to give the shape to that pattern of wax, we are using a die where it is injected and allowed to solidify. So those dies which are used in other processes, so those dies are even made using forging process. So this is a schematic which shows the application of forged products in different parts of an aircraft. And you can see that in very critical components, the forged products are very useful because they offer very high strength, very high mechanical properties with a good predictability of their properties under variable conditions. Because in all the internal defects, if there are any porosities or internal cracks, so they are being healed up when you forge it because you are compressing it. So all the cracks and other things, they get removed, thereby increasing the reliability of the product. So if we look at the grain structure of a forged product, so this grain structure is quite different compared to casting, machining, or this one. So in casting, generally what we get is a dendritic structure. So this is known as a dendritic structure, where you get non-uniform long grains. So these long grains are generally not favorable towards having higher mechanical properties. So generally, we are always interested to have a very compact structure which can also enhance the mechanical properties of the product. So if you look at machining, so machining is a process where you remove excess material. So we will see the details later on. But where you remove excess material, so in this case, you will see there is a discontinuity which is being incorporated in the structure. So these dotted lines as shown here are basically the lines which represent the grain flow. So in case of machining, since you remove excess material, so you give a discontinuity, or basically you have removed material, suppose from here. So you see the grains are almost cut half. But in forging process, basically you do not remove material. Instead, you just change the shape of the material. Thereby, you just rearrange the grains. So they are not removed, but they are rearranged so that the final product takes the shape of the die. So this type of a structure where you rearrange the grains instead of removing them basically enhances the strength of the material. Hence, that's what I am discussing, that forged products are used in several critical applications. So grain structure of the forged part is elongated in the direction of deformation. So the grains, they will be deformed in the direction of which the force is applied. And the workpiece may undergo recrystallization if it is being done above the recrystallization temperature, that is under hot forging. And the finer grains which are created, they offer improved mechanical properties that we have been discussing, because the grain boundaries per unit volume, they increase, thus impeding slip under applied load. So next we will see different types of forging operations. So largely in the scope of this one, we will be discussing about open die forging and closed die forging. So precision forging is an advanced forging process in which basically you have a very high precise dies which are created, but still it is beyond the scope of this course to discuss it in detail. Nevertheless, the open and closed die forging will be discussed in more details. So open die forging is one of the simplest forging process in which you see the die do not have a shape. So in this case, we are just interested to deform the workpiece, not imparting it to a specific shape. So in this case, parts varying up to 15 to 500 kilograms, and it can go to as high as 300 tons can be processed. So shafts which are used in ships, so a lot of container ships are there. In on all the propellers in the ships are operated with the help of these shafts. So all those shafts are up to a length of 23 meters. They can be easily forged with the current technology. So in open die forging, what is the technology? That you have two set of dies and they are being applying compressive force. So if you go back to our basic process, so this is basically the upsetting process. What you are doing is basically you are trying to increase the cross section area, thereby reducing the length. But in this case, you are not imparting a specific shape to the workpiece. So you are just upsetting it by increasing the cross sectional area and reducing the length, and thereby further increase in the compressive forces will lead to barreling on the external surfaces. And this barreling is essentially because the object it tries to constrict, and there are friction forces acting between the interface of the die and the workpiece. So this is another example of open die forging, where you convert a cylindrical object into a squarish object, where you have the dies which are being so this is die 1, and this is die 2. So where you have the die shaped in a cross section of a square. So you go on compressing it, and here the color orange basically indicates that it is an hot working process. So this application of compressive forces is intermittent, means the dies are continuously hammering the surface of the uh, product and thereby deforming it or imparting it plastic deformation. So if we can summarize, the open die forging is basically a simple process with inexpensive dies. So why the dies are inexpensive? Because no specific shape is being imparted through these dies. These dies are almost plain. And this process is useful in small quantities and can handle wide range of sizes. Means very small products can also be made. Even very large products can be forged using this process. But at the same time, the process also has several limitations. For example, the complex shapes cannot be forged using this process because the dies are plain dies. Because you have plain dies, so complex shapes are not possible. There are wider tolerances. So tolerances I have discussed in one of the earlier class also. So tolerances are basically acceptable deviations from the final dimension. So in this case, the acceptable deviation will be too large because you are not precisely changing the shape, but you are roughly changing the shape. Hence, the tolerances are quite high. So this process has a low production rate, means you cannot do very quickly a large number of parts, and generally a high degree of skill is required, because to change the shape here, the skill of the person who is operating the machine is more important, because As such, the change in shape has to be done only with the skill. You don't have the dies which are shaped to handle the change in shape. Next is closed die or impression die forging. So impression die or closed die, they mean the same. In this case, the process is still the same. You have two dies and you have a workpiece in between. But in this case, instead of a plain die, you have a shape, a specific shape being imparted to the die. And upon application of compressive forces, the workpiece will take the shape of this die. So if you have gone through the video which I have uploaded about how to make a spanner, so you will observe that it is done under closed die forging. So you have a heated blank, you put it in the die and you apply compressive force. Under the application of compressive force, the material will yield and flow. And when it will flow under the plastic deformation, it will basically take the shape of the die. So in this case, you are just replicating the shape of the die on the product. So you can understand that in this case, first to create this die and creating the shape in this die is an expensive process. So generally, this closed die forging will be a mass production process where the cost of production of this die will be justified by producing higher number of workpieces. So in this case, also the flash is formed, and this type of flash is then removed by some finishing operations which can be done later on. So this is another schematic how the closed die forging works. For example, I have already sent you the video. So how to make this spanner. So in spanner, basically you will have this die which will be shape of the spanner. So this is the die which will having this cavity made up of the spanner. And you place the heated billet. So billet is basically the term used here for the workpiece. And you apply the compressive force several times, means you are just hammering it on the surface, and then under the influence of that hammering, so what will happen, this heated billet will take the shape of this die, thereby producing this spanner. So this is the example of the closed die forging process. So there are other processes where you can completely eliminate the you see the flash just by changing the shape of the die. So those are known as flashless forging process. So flashless means no flash will be produced. So flash is essentially wastage of material uh, which is not desired. But in order to accomplish no flash, basically dies have to be designed very precisely, and the manufacturing of the die is to be done very precisely, thereby increasing the you can say cost of production of die, and thereby increasing the cost of the forging process. So generally, flashless forging is a, very advanced forging process. Will be only used in mass production scenario, where the quantity of the workpieces offsets the cost of the final process. So if we see summarize the advantages of closed die or impression die forging. So in this, there is a good material utilization because you can finally create the final shape almost in the single step. Maybe multiple hammering is required, but in the final shape is can be developed in the die itself. So good dimensional accuracy is achieved, so tolerances are low. It is good for high production rate, and as I already discussed, good dimensional accuracy is linked to the close tolerances or small values of tolerances. And if we summarize the disadvantages of this process, so first disadvantage is understandable, high die cost, because die is having complex cavities in it. So these complex cavities are to be produced using several other production processes. So these complex cavities basically enhance the cost of the die. So since the cost of the die is very high, so this process may not be economical for small quantity of production. Means it is not feasible to make small quantity of parts because cost will be too high. And machining is often required. This is basically done to basically remove this flash which is produced in the process. To remove this flash, machining may be done, that too in some finishing operation kind of scenarios. Now we move towards what are the different defects which are produced in forging. So one of the defect is surface cracking. So surface cracking is basically when you observe certain micro cracks on the surface of the forged product. So those type of cracks, they are basically responsible for poor fatigue performance. So fatigue is basically the term here for given for cyclic loading. So under cyclic loading, when you have alternate compressive and tensile stresses, so under those type of loading, this is known as a fatigue loading. The performance of the part is very poor, because if you have this is consider this as a forged part, and if you have these type of cracks, so these surface cracks here, so under the influence of this fatigue load, so what happens generally, what happens, these cracks, they are already there, so they become an initiation site, and upon under the influence of these fatigue loads, these cracks, they start to propagate. So if these cracks will propagate, you can understand the material will suffer catastrophic failure or fracture, in which the material may be broken or the product may be broken into several pieces. So if this is a very critical application where a forged part is being used and it fails under fatigue, so you can understand the consequences of such an event. So generally, surface cracking is a very critical defect to be looked into from the aspect of forging. So generally, another aspect which is there in forging is incomplete material flow in the die. Suppose you have an undersized billet and you heat it up, and when you apply compressive forces, the amount of or the volume of material is not sufficient to completely fill the die. So that is another type of defect which is developed in this forged process. So, and in another scenario is the oversized blank. And if the size of the blank or the billet is too big, so then there may be excessive pressure which may be generated in while closing the die, which may cause the failure of the die or jamming of these dies, so thereby increasing the cost of the process. So these are some schematics of the defects. You can see here the defects like these laps or the surface cracks are being developed, or it buckles from in between. And another set of cracks which may be developed. So crack, they may propagate also under the influence of these compressive forces. So in short, I can summarize that first and foremost is surface cracks which are developed. Second is defects of underfilling of the cavity because of small sized billet. And third is basically the defects which are developed because of the oversized billet, which may cause failure of the die or jamming of these dies. Now it is very interesting to know what is the material of these dies, which basically handle all this forging pressure or the compressive forces with elevated temperature. So this die material is a special material which should have these type of properties like high toughness and strength at high temperatures. So toughness and strength we have been discussing. Is the toughness is the ability to absorb the shock or the energy, impact energy, and strength is the ability to take external loads. So thermal shock resistance should be higher, because in this forging process there are several temperature variations, quick temperature variations happen when you apply the lubricant which is at the room temperature. Then it should also have high wear resistance. So high wear resistance is the ability to resist wear or loss of material, gradual loss of material, because the dies are coming in contact, going away. So there is a relative motion between these two dies. So under such scenarios, the material may lose the amount, the material may be lost from the dies. Then high hardenability. So generally these dies are hardened, basically the surface of these dies are hardened by some heat treatment process. So if this is a die, basically I'm developing a die. So what I will do is basically I will intend to basically give extra hardness to the surface of this die where the heated billet will come in contact. So this process is done using this heat treatment, where I give a layer of high hardness, so thereby increasing the wear resistance or the strength of this die. So dimensional stability should be maintained, means it should not so happen that the die, it changes the dimension, its own dimension under the influence of temperature and applied pressure. So the final product dimensions will vary a lot compared to what it was actually to be done. So then it should be good machinability, because dies, they have to be like, for example, in closed die forging, basically we intend to basically create several complex shaped cavities in between. So all those cavities are produced using machining process. So it should be a good machinable material. So commonly, if we look at the materials which are used to create dyes are alloys of steel, which are categorized under tool steel and die steel. So these are steels. So this means it is an alloy of iron and carbon. But additionally, beyond carbon, we are adding other elements like the chromium, nickel, molybdenum, and vanadium. So these additional elements provide these properties, as I have discussed, like increasing toughness, strength, wear resistance, shock resistance, and hardenability. So these elements are basically added to go get those properties. Now, there is another important role of friction. So as I have shown you the example of the open die forging process or the upsetting process, where basically you apply the force and there is friction between the surface of the die and the product. So this friction, it has to be controlled in a very delicate manner, basically to enhance the productivity of the process. So to control this friction in a delicate manner, we have the lubricants available in the forging process. So lubricant, basically they control the friction process, and additionally basically they also do the controlling of the cooling rate of the forged product. So this friction basically also plays an important role of deciding how the material will be flowing into the cavities of the dies. So it also acts as a thermal barrier between the hot workpiece and the die, because if this lubricant is present in between, so it has the ability to take certain thermal shock from the heated workpiece or the die. And it also acts as a parting agent. So what may happen if you deform the product under the influence of these compressive forces? In certain scenarios, the final product may get adhered or adhes, and some adhesion may take place with the die and the workpiece. So we don't want that, because it is a high productivity process. As soon as the process is complete, we want to eject out the different or the deformed workpiece. So we will use a lubricant which will act as a parting agent, which will inhibit the adhesion of the workpiece with the final die. So this inhibits the sticking of the workpiece and easy removal of it from the forging die. So what are the different lubricants which are used? So the lubricants are classified as per hot forging and cold forging process. So generally under hot forging, we have graphite, molybdenum disulfide, and glass. So molten glass is basically used here. And if it is cold forging process, mineral oils and soaps are being used in this case. Next, we look at how the hammering is done in modern day forging presses. So forging machines are also known as forging press. So instead of machine, you will also find terms using as forging press. So press, you can understand, is basically, if you look at the literal meaning of the word press, so it is basically application of compressive force. So forging presses are being operated in different ways, primarily using hydraulic means or mechanical means. So in hydraulic means, we'll start from here. The hydraulic means you can, by the flow of this fluid, basically you can control the motion of this piston on which this ram is attached. So this ram is basically the attached further to the die or the closing die, through which the compressive force is transmitted to this die. So in you can understand in hydraulic the movement will be very gradual, but we have other set of arrangements like the mechanical arrangement with crank or knuckle joint or screw, where this will be a very rapid type of a movement, and you can give the continuous blows of this hammer. And there are another set of hammers which are in which you allow the die or the ram to drop under the influence of gravity. So when you allow it to drop under the influence of gravity, so the potential energy carrying by stored in the die converts into the kinetic energy, and when that kinetic energy it impacts on the closed die, so the compressive force is transmitted. So these are basically different values of the the velocities that you can get with different arrangements. Now, if you look at the economics of forging, so forging is a mass production scenario kind of a process, where if you compare this product, that is this product is basically a connecting rod used in the internal combustion engine to transmit power from the the reciprocating piston to the crankshaft. So if you make this connecting rod, basically to using different processes like sand casting or permanent mold casting, forging, investment casting, and die casting. So you will observe that as the number of pieces increase, so forging becomes one of the cost efficient method to produce this part. Also, relative cost per piece it goes on reducing. So that is why forging is a very good process when you are making critical components in large numbers. Now we will just quickly go through some examples of forging process. Uh, so beyond all those things, so forging is used in other ways also. Like first process is coining. So all the coins which you see are minted using this again a coining process, which is an example of a forging process in which you have a workpiece and the die. This die have the shape which is then replicated on the coins. So different dies. So you see here the dies are there, and then you see the coins which are here, which are again produced using this forging process. So lubricants are generally not used. So coining is generally a cold working process, and additional surface finish may also be imparted using this process. Next is heading. So heading process is an upset forging process in which are used to create these type of bolt heads or rivet heads or fastener heads. So how you start with, here you have a cylindrical blank and basically you have a punch. So this punch basically continuously hammers this head of this workpiece here, thereby deforming the shape, and all the products like nail, bolt head, screw, rivets, they can be produced using this method. Next is isothermal forging process. So isothermal forging process basically is a name given where the temperature of the die and workpiece is same. So here this is die 1, this is die 2, and in between is the workpiece. So you will see that temperature is almost is brought at the same level for all these three components. So that is why the name is given isothermal. Isothermal means the word isothermal basically indicates that the temperature is same. So this is a special forging process used only for high strength alloys like nickel and molybdenum alloys, which we have studied in the beginning, also known as super alloys. So because these materials are very difficult to deform with the conventional forging process, even with hot forging, they cannot be deformed. So additionally, what we do here is we increase the temperature of the dies as well at the same level with the workpiece. So this basically makes the plastic deformation easy, but it is a slow process and an expensive process because you are also expending energy to increase the temperature of the dies in this case. So this is used only with super alloys and is an expensive and a slow process. Next is the radial forging process, where basically it is also known as swaging process. So in different books, it is also given the name as swaging. So in swaging, what we are doing is basically we are trying to reduce the diameter of a cylindrical rod by subjecting it to radial impact forces. So these are the three dies which are at say 60-degree each. So this die is basically not 60-degree, 120-degree at 120-degree angles. So what is being done here is the workpiece is stationary and the dies they are continuously rotated. So in this case, the workpiece is heated using induction heating. So high frequency currents are passed, which make the workpiece red hot in couple of seconds. And then basically you start impacting it with these dies. So these dies are basically then taking the shape, giving its final shape to the workpiece. And this is the last process which we are discussing under forging. So forging is also used to create the different thicknesses, changing the thicknesses of the tube. So you see here the tube is having a thickness of say value T1, and here after it is being passed through the die it becomes value T2, where T2 is greater than T1. So this type of tube forging is also possible. Additionally, by inserting a mandrel in between, so this mandrel can be of different shapes. You can also change the internal surface of the tube to a variety of shapes. So this is also possible by the forging process. So with this, I stop here for the lecture part, and I can now take up questions from you if there are any.